This is Cast of Wonders, the young adult fiction podcast featuring stories of the fantastic. Welcome. Episode number 189 for January the 13th, 2016. Every year in January, Cast of Wonders takes the month off to recharge our batteries, plan the year ahead, and highlight some of our favorite episodes. As part of joining the Escape Artists family, this year we're pulling out all the stops. We're running 10 staff pick episodes over the course of 1 month, each one hosted by a different member of the Cast of Wonders crew. Hello everyone, I'm audio producer and narrator Ricky Lacoste. Staff picks! By the way, I'm the one who is audio producing all of the staff picks this month. I was asked to pick my favorite tale on Cast of Wonders for the year 2015. Well, I must say, and I hope you don't begrudge me about this, I couldn't help but pick the very first episode I worked on for Cast of Wonders.
You?
A bunch of us actually worked on the story to put it together, which I'll get to later on. This is my daughter Isis, who also worked alongside me on the tale with us.
Hi. I know I'm not staff, but I was at least kind of like staff for the episode we picked.
That's right. Now, I don't want you to think that I picked this episode for bragging rights.
Really? Come on. You're proud of it.
Okay. Well, I'm pretty proud of this episode and of you, of course. But however proud I am of it, rather, I feel quite lucky to have been assigned this particular tale, since it moved me deeply and inspired me to the core. What was it about this story that moved you so much?
Well, I had the same kind of experience as the characters in the story.
You want to talk about it after we play the story?
Sure.
Well, the story in question and my staff pick for 2015 is episode number 164, and the tale is called Amicae Aeternum by Ellen Klages. It originally aired on April 19th, 2015, and is read by me, my daughter Isis, and Fiona Van Verth, also known as Princess Scientist. I have to agree with our host and editor, Marguerite Kenner, in her original commentary about the tale. Yeah, go back and listen to it. That stories like this are the reason why I'm so drawn to young adult fiction. And I couldn't agree more with our founding host and editor, Graham Dunlop, who said about the story, "It punched me right in the feels." I think I got that right. Now, I'm not sure if that's some crazy Australian colloquialism, but I like it, and I'm pretty sure I got it, because that's precisely what Amicae Aeternum galvanizes for me. The feels. Or rather, the feelings that it evokes. Incidentally, Graham Dunlop mentioned to me that this was his staff pick as well. And in a very big way, I feel like he should have taken it just so that I can hear the commentary that he had about the story and everything that he had to say about it. There's more we'd like to tell you about the story and how it provoked us and inspired us and the wonderful experience we had putting it together. But I think Ellen Klages and her heart-tugging story should speak for itself first. So, we'll see you on the other side. So, without further ado,
now we've a tale to tell.
Amicae Aeternum by Ellen Klages. It was still dark when Corey woke. No lights on the neighbors' houses. Just a yellow glow from the streetlight on the other side of the elm. Through her open window, the early summer breeze brushed across her coverlet like silk. Corey dressed silently, trying not to see the empty walls, the boxes piled in a corner. She pulled on a shirt and shorts, looping the laces of her shoes around her neck, and climbed from bed to sill and out the window, with only a whisper of fabric against the worn wood. Then she was outside. The grass was chill and damp beneath her bare feet. She let them rest on it for a minute, the freshly mowed blades tickling her toes, her heels sinking into the springy sponginess of the dirt. She breathed deep to catch it all, the cool and the green and the stillness, holding it in for as long as she could before slipping on her shoes. A morning to remember, every little detail. She walked across the lawn, stepping over the ridge of clippings along the verge, onto the sidewalk. Theirs was a corner lot. In a minute, she would be out of sight. For once, she was up before her practical, morning people parents. The engineer and the physicist did not believe in sleeping in, but Corey could count on the fingers of one hand the number of times in her 11 years that she had seen the dawn. No one else on the street. It felt solemn and private, as if she had stepped out of time, so quiet she could hear the wind ruffle the wide canopy of trees, an owl hooting from somewhere behind her, the diesel chug of the all-night bus 2 blocks away. She crossed Branson Street and turned down the alley that ran behind the houses. A dandelion's spiky leaves pushed through a crack in the cement. Corey squatted, touching it with a finger, tracing the jagged outline, memorizing its contours. A weed. No one planted it or planned it. She smiled and stood up, her hand against a wooden fence, feeling the grain beneath her palm, the crackling web of old paint, and continued on. The alley stretched ahead for several blocks, the pavement a narrowing pale V. She paused a minute later to watch a cat prowl stealthily along the base of another fence, hunting or slinking home. It looked up, saw her, and sped into a purposeful 1,000-legged trot before disappearing into a yard. She thought of her own cat, Mr. Bumble, who now belonged to a neighbor, and wiped at the edge of her eye. She distracted herself by peering into backyards at random bits of other people's lives, lawn chairs, an overturned tricycle, a metal barbecue grill, its lid open. Barbecue. She hadn't thought to add that to her list. She'd like to have one more whiff of charcoal, lit with lighter fluid, smoking and wafting across the yards, smelling like summer. Too late now. No one barbecued their breakfast. She walked on, past Remington Road. She brushed her fingers over a rosebush. Velvet petals, leathery leaves, pressed a hand against the oft-stapled roughness of a telephone pole, fringed with remnants of garage sale flyers. Stood on tiptoe to trace the red octagon of a stop sign. She stepped from sidewalk to grass to asphalt and back, tasting the textures with her feet, noting the cracks and holes and bumps, the faded paint on the curb near a fire hydrant.
Fire hydrant,
she said softly, checking it off in her mind.
Rain gutter, lawnmower, mailbox.
The sky was just beginning to purple in the east when she reached Anna's back gate. She knew it as well as her own. They'd been best friends since first grade and had been in and out of each other's houses practically every day. Corey tapped on the frame of the porch's screen door with one knuckle. A moment later, Anna came out.
Hi, Spunk,
she whispered.
Hi, Spork,
Corey answered. She waited while Anna eased the door closed so it wouldn't bang, sat on the steps, put on her shoes. Their bikes leaned against the side of the garage. Corey had told her mom that she had given her bike to Anna's sister, Pat. And she would, in an hour or two. So it hadn't really been a lie. Just the wrong tense. They walked their bikes through the gate. In the alley, Corey threw a leg over and settled onto the vinyl seat. Its shape molded to hers over the years. Her bike. Her steed. Her hands fit themselves around the rubber grips of the handlebars, and she pushed off with one foot. Anna was a few feet behind, then beside her. They rode abreast down to the mouth of the alley and away. The slight grade of Thompson Street was perfect for coasting. The wind on their faces, blowing Corey's short hair off her forehead, rippling Anna's ponytail. At the bottom of the hill, Corey stood tall on her pedals, pumping hard, the muscles in her calves a good ache as the chain rattled and whirred as fast and constant as a train.
Trains!
She yelled into the wind, another item from her list.
Train whistles!
Anna yelled back. They leaned into a curve. Corey felt gravity pull at her, pumped harder, in control. They turned a corner, and a moment later, Anna said,
Look!
Corey slowed, looked up, then braked to a stop. The crescent moon hung above a gap in the trees, a thin sliver of blue-white light. Anna began the lullaby her mother used to sing when Corey first slept over. On the second line, Corey joined in.
I see the moon sees me, the moon sees somebody I want to see. God bless the moon, and God bless me. God bless.
The sound of their voices was liquid in the stillness, sweet and smooth. Anna reached out and held Corey's hand across the space between their bikes.
The moon sees somebody I want to see. God bless the moon, and God bless me. God bless the somebody I want to see.
They stood for a minute, feet on the ground, still holding hands. Corey gave a squeeze and let go.
Thanks,
She said.
Anytime.
Said Anna, and bit her lip.
I know.
Corey said. Because it wouldn't be. She pointed. The sky was lighter now, palest blue at the end of the street, shading to indigo directly above.
Let's get to the park before the sun comes up.
No traffic, no cars. It felt like they were the only people in the world. They headed east, riding down the middle of the street, chasing the shadows of their bikes from streetlight to streetlight, never quite catching them. The houses on both sides were dark, only one light in a kitchen window making a yellow rectangle on a driveway. As they passed it, they smelled bacon frying, heard a fragment of music. The light at 38th Street was red. They stopped, toes on the ground, waiting. A raccoon scuttled from under a hedge, hump-backed and quick, disappearing behind a parked car. In the hush, Corey heard the metallic tick from the light box before she saw it change from red to green. 3 blocks up Ralston Hill. The sky looked magic now, the edges wiped with pastels, peach and lavender and a blush of orange. Corey pedaled as hard as she could, felt her breath ragged in her throat, a trickle of sweat between her shoulder blades. Under the arched entrance to the park, into the broad, grassy picnic area that sloped down to the creek. They abandoned their bikes to the grass and walked to a low stone wall. Corey sat, cross-legged, her best friend beside her, and waited for the sun to rise for the last time. She knew it couldn't actually rise, that it wasn't moving. They were, rotating a quarter mile every second, coming all the way around once every 24 hours, exposing themselves once again to the star they called the sun, and naming that moment morning. But it was the last time she'd get to watch.
There it is,
Anna said. Golden light pierced the spaces between the trunks of the trees, casting long, thin shadows across the grass. They leaned against each other and watched as the sky brightened to its familiar blue, and color returned. Green leaves, pink bicycles, yellow shorts. Behind them, lights began to come on in houses, and a dog barked. By the time the sun touched the tops of the distant trees, the backs of their legs were pebbled with the pattern of the wall, and it was daytime. Corey sat, listening to the world waking up and going about its ordinary business. Cars starting, birds chirping, a mother calling out, "Jimmy, breakfast!" She felt as if her whole body was aware, making all of this a part of her. Over by the playground, geese waddled on the grass, pecking for bugs. One goose climbed onto the end of the teeter-totter and sat, as if waiting for a playmate. Corey laughed out loud. She would never have thought to put that on her list.
What's next?
Anna asked.
The creek, before anyone else is there.
They walked single file down the steep railroad tie steps, flanked by tall oaks and thick undergrowth, dotted with wildflowers.
Wild,
Corey said softly. When they reached the bank, they took off their shoes and climbed over boulders until they were surrounded by rushing water. The air smelled fresh, full of minerals, the sound of the water both constant and never the same as it poured over rocks and rills eddied around logs. They sat down on the biggest, flattest rock and eased their bare feet into the creek, watching goosebumps rise up their legs. Corey felt the current swirl around her. She watched the speckles of light dance on the water, the darkness under the bank, 10,000 shades of green and brown everywhere she looked. Sun on her face, wind in her hair, water at her feet, rock beneath her.
How much of your list did you get to do?
Asked Anna.
A lot of it. It kept getting longer. I'd check one thing off, and it'd remind me of something else. I got most of the everyday ones, 'cause I could walk or ride my bike. Mom was too busy packing and giving stuff away, and checking off her own lists to take me to the aquarium or to the zoo. So I didn't see the jellies, or the elephants, and the bears.
Anna nodded.
My mom was like that too, when we were moving here from Indianapolis.
At least you knew where you were going. We're heading off to the great unknown, my dad says. Boldly going where nobody's gone before.
Like that old TV show.
Yeah, except we're not going to get anywhere. At least not me. Or my mom or dad. The Goddard is a generation ship. The planet it's heading for is 5 light years away. And even with solar sails and stuff, the trip's going to take a couple of 100 years.
Wow.
Yeah. It won't land until my I don't know, I had about 5 more greats to that, grandchildren are around. I'll be old, like 30, before we even get out of the solar system. Dad keeps saying that it's the adventure of a lifetime, and we're achieving humankind's greatest dream and blah, blah, blah. But it's all his dream.
She picked at a piece of lichen on the rock.
Does your mom want to go?
Uh-huh. And she's all excited about the experiment she can do in 0G. She said it's an honor that we were chosen, and I should be proud to be a pioneer.
Will you be in the history books?
Corey shrugged.
Maybe. There are around 4,000 people going from all over the world, so I'd be in tiny, tiny print. But maybe.
Anna whistled.
4,000? How big of a rocket is this?
Big. Bigger than big.
Corey pulled her feet up, hugging her arms around her knees.
Remember that humongous cruise ship that we saw when we went to Miami?
Sure, it looked like a skyscraper lying on its side.
That's what the ship is like, only bigger and rounder. My mom keeps saying that it'll be just like a cruise. Any food anytime I want. Games to play. All the movies and books and music ever made. After school, of course. Except people on cruise ships stop at ports and get off and explore. Once we board tonight, we're never getting off. I'm going to spend the rest of my whole entire life in a big tin can.
That sucks.
Tell me about it.
Corey reached into her pocket and pulled out a crumpled sheet of paper. scribbles covering both sides. She smoothed it out on her knee.
I've got another list.
She cleared her throat and began to read.
20 Reasons Why Being on a Generation Ship Sucks by Corinne Garcia Kelly. 1. I will never go away to college. 2. I will never see blue sky again, except in pictures. 3. There will never be a new kid in my class. 4. I will never meet anyone my parents don't already know. 5. I will never have anything new that isn't human-made, manufactured or processed or grown in a lab. 6. Once I get my ID chip, my parents will always know exactly where I am. 7. I will never get to drive my Aunt Frida's convertible, even though she promised I could when I turned 16. 8. I will never see the ocean again. 9. I will never go to Paris. 10. I will never meet a tall, dark stranger, dangerous or not. 11. I will never move away from home. 12. I will never get to make the rules for my own life. 13. I will never ride my bike to a new neighborhood and find a new store that I haven't seen before. 14. I will never get to ride my bike again. 15. I will never go outside again. 16. I will never take a walk anywhere that isn't planned and mapped and numbered. 17. I will never see another thunderstorm, or lightning bugs, or fireworks. 18. I will never buy an old house and fix it up. 19. I will never eat another Whopper. 20. I will never go to the state fair and win a stuffed animal.
She stopped.
I was getting kind of sleepy towards the end.
I could tell.
Anna slipped her arm around Corey's waist.
What will you miss most?
You.
Corey pulled Anna closer.
Me too.
Anna settled her head on her friend's shoulder.
I can't believe I'll never see you again.
I know.
Corey sighed.
I like Earth, and I like that there are parts that no one made, and that there are always surprises.
She lifted her arm a little.
Maybe I don't want to be a pioneer. I mean, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Mom's always said that I could be anything I wanted to be. But now, the Peace Corps is out. So is being a coal miner, or deep sea diver, or park ranger, or an antique dealer.
You like old things?
I do. They're from the past, so everything is a story.
I thought so.
Anna reached into her pocket with her free hand.
I used the metals kit from my dad's printer and made you something.
She pulled out a tissue paper-wrapped lump and put it in Corey's lap. Corey tore off the paper. Inside was a silver disc, about 5 centimeters across. In raised letters around the edge, it said, Spunk, Corey, Anna, Spork, 2065. Etched in the center was a photo of the two of them, arm in arm, wearing tall, pointed hats with stars, taken at Anna's last birthday party. Corey turned it over. The back said, Optime, Amicae, Aeternum.
What does that mean?
Best friends forever. At least that's what translator said.
It's great. Thanks. I'll keep it with me all the time.
You'd better. It's an artifact.
It's really nice.
I'm serious. Isn't your spaceship going off to another planet with a whole library of Earth's art and culture and all?
Yeah.
But by the time it lands, that'll be ancient history and tales. No one alive will ever have been on Earth, right?
Yeah.
So, your mission, if you choose to accept it, is to preserve this artifact from your home planet.
Anna shrugged.
Well, it isn't old now, but it will be. You can tell your kids stories about it. About us. It'll be an heirloom. Then they can tell their kids...
And their kids, and on down for umpty generations.
Corey nodded, turning the disc over in her hands.
By then it'll be a relic. There'll be legends about it.
She rolled it across her palm, silver winking in the sun.
How'd you think of that?
Well, you said you're only allowed to take 10 kilos of personal stuff with you, and that's all you'll ever have from Earth. Which is why you made your list and have been going around saying goodbye to squirrels and stop signs, Snickers bars and all.
10 kilos isn't much. My mom said the ship is so well stocked, I won't need much. But it's hard. I had to pick between my bear and my jewelry box.
I know. And in 20 years, I'll probably have a house full of clothes and furniture and junk. But the thing is, when I'm old and die, my kids will get rid of most of it, like we did with Grandma. Maybe they'll keep some pictures, but then their kids will do the same thing. So in a couple 100 years, there won't be any trace of me here.
But you'll be a part of the legend.
Yep.
Okay then, I accept the mission.
Corey turned and kissed Anna on the cheek.
You'll take us to the stars?
You bet.
She slipped the disc into her pocket.
It's getting late.
She stood up and reached to help Anna to her feet.
Come on, let's ride.
Now, you may have noticed that there's a generation ship and ion sails in the story. That means that the story takes place either in the future or in an alternate reality. And that, in turn, places the story smack into the science fiction genre. However, it's a unique sci-fi story. At least to me, because this tale savors more of Rockwell than Rocket Ship XM. This story I feel especially close to, mainly because it managed to dislodge some long-buried melancholic and gleeful memories and sensations from my childhood when I was a kid. I grew up in a Norman Rockwell painting. Belleville, Ontario, that is. On a winding dirt road with a vast crown land forest looming at the back end of our property. Like Corey, my young life, too, was abruptly transplanted because of exciting new opportunities presented to my family at the beginning of summer in Belleville, at the end of my second grade school year. All the contents of the home in which I grew up were traumatically boxed up and shipped off. The next thing I knew, I was in a frantic, noisy metropolis made of concrete and glass, full of strange people, and I was soon thrust into a strange new school full of strange kids. It really is a difficult thing for kids to be taken away from their familiar environments and plugged into alien ones. What's hardest of all is for children to be whisked away from their friends, perhaps forever, with whom they have shared and developed spectacular relationships, experiences, tears, and laughter together. Best friends become siblings in a most substantial way.
Oh, like one of my best friends from my old neighborhood. Since I moved away, we hardly saw each other anymore. But when we do, our friendship feels just as strong as it was when we were living 3 doors down from each other. We must have been at each other's house practically every day. We spent months not seeing each other sometimes. I guess our friendship gets stronger because we miss each other so much. You know, love isn't just for boyfriends and girlfriends. It's for best friends too. Anyway, just this year I gave her a necklace that says sisters on it.
You're just like Spunk and Spork.
Except neither of us is going on any generation ship anytime soon.
Right. So, apart from the joy of the nostalgia from the story, my other great joy was in working with my daughter, Isis, on the project. She played the role of Corey. Her best friend, Anna, was played by Fiona Van Verth. Now, Fiona happens to be the daughter of Mur Lafferty, which meant that I got to work with the mighty Mur, albeit briefly. And of course, the whole production was only possible because of the combined efforts of these talented girls and the outstanding Cast of Wonders staff, and especially because of Ellen Klages and her inspirationally moving story. And it was quite an international effort, come to think about it. So here are me and Isis in Toronto, Canada, Mur and Fiona in North Carolina, USA, editor Marguerite Kenner in Buckinghamshire, England, founder Graham Dunlop, who assisted with production from Melbourne, Australia, and finally author Ellen Klages from San Francisco, USA. Just a final note about the music you heard in the story. When I initially read over the text, I came across 4 lines of verse that were described as a lullaby in the story. I wondered what it would sound like. And being a songwriter, a melody popped into my head as I read it, and it wouldn't go away. So I grabbed the nearest instrument, Isis's ukulele, and began the recording process, track by track, followed by my korg and then woodwind. Well, I thought, I can't have the girls not sing the words or have them each make something up on the fly. It was a little bit of a problem how to make this work. It would be awkward, dissonant, and wouldn't reflect what Ellen Klages described in the text about the sound of their voices. I had to somehow coordinate their singing the lullaby together, even though one was in North Carolina and the other in the great white north. Well, somehow we pulled it off. You can hear the song on its own at panthea.bandcamp.com. Panthea is spelled Panthea. So that's panthea.bandcamp.com. One of my great passions is music, and you'll be able to hear a decent collection of my other musical compositions there. Well, that was my staff pick. Amicae Aeternum by Ellen Klages, and I hope you appreciated why I picked it, enjoyed the effort, the talent, the love, and especially the story. I tend to be a bit long-winded when talking about something that inspires me and opens a little Pandora's box inside of me, so I'm going to cut myself off now and put this episode to bed.
Cast of Wonders relies on your donations to pay the authors and bring you the best in young adult audio fiction week after week. If you've enjoyed this story, please consider making a donation using the PayPal link on the site. Every one-time and monthly donation helps, and you have our heartfelt thanks.
You can share your appreciation for the story by leaving us a review on iTunes, sharing the episode with your friends and family, or discussing it on our forum. We're at Cast of Wonders on Twitter. Come say hello.
Cast of Wonders is a production of Escape Artists Incorporated and is brought to you by the creative team of Chief Editor Marguerite Kenner. Marguerite Kenner.
Assistant Editor Jeff Height.
Artist Barry J. Northern.
Audio producers Jeremy Carter.
And my dad.
Me. And our slush team, Danny Daly.
Alexis Gobble.
Gobble, not Gobble.
Alexis Goebel.
Catherine Inskip.
Sally Jill.
Gill. Or is it Jill? G-I-L-L.
Daddy, G before I makes the G a soft G, so Jill.
Yeah, but gills on a fish is spelled Gill. Oh,
Okay.
I'm so confused.
Sally, Gill.
Olivia Denholm.
Melissa Bugaj.
Bugaj. Like Bugaj. Bugaj. Like Bugaj. But Bugaj.
Melissa Bugaj. Melissa Bugaj.
And Ellery McAllister.
Our episodes are released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives, 4.0 Our episodes are released under a Creative Commons Our episodes are released under a Creative Commons Attribution. Our episodes are released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. You can share the episode, but you can't change it or sell it.
Our theme, Appeal to Heavens, is by Alexei Nov from musicalley.com.
Hey, you're supposed to say thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. Okay, that's it.